Interesting to see people trying to enter through the wrong doors. Nolan Astor's voice cuts through the crystal-lit lobby like a blade wrapped in silk. The lecture ended 15 minutes ago, but Gangnam's elite still linger under chandeliers that cost more than most annual salaries, performing the ancient ritual of strategic networking. Business cards exchange hands with military precision, 2 hands, slight bow, eye contact calibrated to hierarchy. Ileana Kincaid adjusts the strap of her minimalist charcoal bag and turns toward the exit. She's been here long enough. 3 hours of listening to venture capitalists discuss disruptive innovation while carefully avoiding any actual disruption to their portfolios. Her pearl earrings catch the light as she moves. Press badge, perhaps, Nolan continues, his entourage of tailored sycophants forming a semicircle behind him. His navy Italian suit probably cost what some startups spend on their entire seed round. The gold Patek Philippe on his wrist catches the light deliberately. Or did someone forget to check the guest list? I know these mix-ups happen. Contained laughter ripples through the crowd. Not loud, that would be vulgar, but enough. The kind of laughter that says, we see what's happening and we're complicit. Phones come out, pretending to check emails. Conversations pause mid-sentence. Everyone suddenly needs to look anywhere except at the black woman in the charcoal dress standing 10 feet from the exit. Ileana stops, doesn't turn immediately. The marble floor reflects the chandelier light in fractured patterns. She counts 3 breaths, a technique learned from dealing with board members who think volume equals authority. When she does turn, her face is glacial calm, the kind of composure that comes from being underestimated in every room she's ever entered. "I'm sorry," she says, voice steady as architecture. "Are you speaking to me?" Nolan's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Never does. "I'm just concerned about security protocols. This is an invitation-only event. Technology Leaders Forum, Tier 1 access. I'm sure you understand." The crowd tightens. A woman in Chanel whispers to her companion. 2 men in matching Ermenegildo Zegna. Suits exchange glances. The photographer hired for the event lowers his camera. This moment won't make the official record. Ileana reaches into her bag with deliberate slowness. Her fingers brush past the actual invitation. Embossed, holographic seal, her full name printed in sans serif precision, and pull out her phone instead. "Would you like me to show you?" "That won't be necessary." Nolan waves his hand, dismissive. "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding." Though I do think the organizers should be more careful about their vetting process. Standards matter, wouldn't you agree? The words land exactly where he aimed them. Not loud enough to be overtly racist. Just precise enough to communicate what everyone in this room already suspects. That she doesn't belong, that her presence is questionable, that wealth and power have a certain look, and she isn't it. Ileana's grip tightens on her phone. The marble suddenly feels cold through her heels. This isn't new. She's been here before. Different city, different event. Same xenophobia wrapped in concern trolling. Last month it was Singapore. Before that, London. The playbook never changes. Question the credentials, suggest irregularity, force the target to prove their right to exist in the space. No one moves. The entire lobby has become a tableau of performative discomfort. 20 witnesses, 0 allies. Until. Enough. The voice isn't loud. Doesn't need to be. It cuts through the manufactured tension like a door closing on a conversation. Ryu Ha-jin steps forward from the periphery where he's been standing for the last 10 minutes, trying to decide whether to leave through the side exit or face the lobby gauntlet. His suit is wrinkled. Not fashionably rumpled. Actually wrinkled. The kind that comes from wearing the same outfit 3 days in a row, because the dry cleaning bill isn't a priority when you're choosing between keeping the lights on and paying severance to employees you can't afford to keep. He still wears the blue exhibitor bracelet from 2 months ago, when he had a booth at Seoul Startup Week, when Harbor Root Technologies was 6 months away from Series B, when bankruptcy was something that happened to other people. Nolan turns, eyebrow raised. "I'm sorry?" "Everyone here heard what you said." Hae-jin's Korean is precise, formal. but his tone strips away any pretense of politeness. He doesn't look at Nolan, looks past him, to the crowd, to the witnesses who suddenly find their phones fascinating. I'm going to ask to see your credential now, and then I'm going to report this to the event committee. Rules are rules, yes? Standards matter. The silence shifts. Nolan's smile freezes, calcifies. Excuse me? Do I know you? You offered to buy my company 4 weeks ago for 30 cents on the dollar. Ha-Jin's voice doesn't rise. Through an intermediary, anonymously. You wanted the IP, the client list, and immediate termination of all existing contracts. I declined. Someone in the crowd inhales sharply. The photographer raises his camera again, then thinks better of it. Nolan's jaw tightens. That was a generous offer for a failing company. Failed, Ha-Jin corrects. Past tense, and your generosity was noted. He turns to Ileana, offers his arm with the kind of old-fashioned courtesy that feels revolutionary in its simplicity. Would you allow me to walk you out? Ileana looks at him. Really looks. Sees the circles under his eyes, the slightly frayed cuff on his left sleeve, the small scar on his eyebrow that suggests a childhood story. Sees a man who just inserted himself between a predator and prey when he has no social capital left to spend. She takes his arm. They walk through the glass doors together, leaving Nolan surrounded by his entourage in a silence that feels like witnessing. The automatic doors whisper shut. Outside, Seoul's November rain begins to fall, gentle at first, then harder, turning the lights of Gangnam into watercolor streaks. Ha-Jin doesn't let go until they're under the awning of the cafe across the street. One of those places that stays open until 2 a.m. serving Americanos to insomniacs and entrepreneurs who can't tell the difference between ambition and desperation. Thank you, Ileana says, releasing his arm. Ha-Jin shakes rain from his hair. Don't. I should have said something sooner. Most people don't say anything at all. They stand there, rain drumming on the awning, the event center glowing behind them like a fishbowl full of piranhas. The cafe window shows empty tables, a barista wiping down the espresso machine. Ileana turns to face him fully. So, why did you do it? Ha-Jin looks at her, then at the rain, then back. Because I know what it feels like when everyone watches you fail and no one helps. He pauses. And because he was wrong. Ileana studies him. Sees something she hasn't seen in a long time. Sincerity without calculation. You knew it would cost you. I don't have much left to lose. Everyone has something to lose. The rain intensifies. A taxi splashes past, headlights cutting through the downpour. Ha-Jin glances at the cafe, then at her. I need coffee. Very bad coffee that I'm going to drink anyway. Would you like to join me? Ileana should say no. Should call her driver, return to her hotel, review the quarterly reports waiting in her encrypted email. Should maintain the careful distance between observer and participant that's kept her fortune private and her influence quiet. Instead, she says, yes. They cross to the cafe. The barista looks up, surprised to have customers this late. Ha-Jin orders 2 Americanos without asking what she wants, a presumption that should annoy her but somehow doesn't. They sit by the window. Rain sheets down the glass. The coffee arrives, bad as promised. So, Ileana says, wrapping her hands around the ceramic mug, are you going to tell me why Nolan Astor wants to buy your company for 30 cents on the dollar? Ha-Jin laughs, short, bitter. You don't know who I am. Should I? 2 months ago, maybe. Now? He shrugs. Now I'm just another bankruptcy statistic. And there it is, the hook buried in ordinary conversation. The moment when the story that brought them together begins to unfold into something neither can control. Ileana leans forward. Tell me. Outside, the rain falls harder. Inside, across a table in a half-empty cafe in Gangnam, Ryu Ha-Jin begins to speak. And Ileana Kincaid begins to listen. And neither of them knows yet that this conversation will rebuild an empire, expose a predator, and turn two wounded people into something stronger than the sum of their scars. But they're about to find out. If you've ever wanted to know what happens when integrity meets capital, when honor refuses to stay silent, keep listening. Because what comes next will challenge everything you think you know about love, business, and the price of doing the right thing. Ha-jin stares into his Americano like it holds answers instead of just bad coffee and regret. The cafe's fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting everything in that peculiar soul-at-night glow. Too bright to be romantic, too dim to hide exhaustion. Harbor Route Technologies, he begins. Logistics optimization software for mid-sized distribution networks. Boring, right? But it worked. 8 years of development, 63 employees, contracts with 17 companies across Korea and Japan. We weren't going to change the world. We were just going to make it run smoother. Ilyana doesn't interrupt. She's learned that silence is often the best question. 6 months ago, my partner, co-founder actually, we built this together from a university project, came to me with expansion plans. Aggressive timeline, needed significant capital injection. He'd found investors willing to fund it. American group, very interested, wanted to move fast. Heejin's fingers tighten around the mug. All I had to do was sign off on the restructuring. But you didn't. I read the terms. His smile is exhausted. The expansion required cutting 40% of our workforce immediately. The contract language was designed to void our existing client agreements. And the capital came with, let's call them expectations, about who we'd prioritize, what data we'd make available. My partner said I was being paranoid, said this is how business works at scale. The rain continues its percussion against the window. A delivery driver rushes past, plastic bag held over his head. I refused, not the deal, the terms. I said we'd find other funding, restructure differently, protect the team and the client commitments. My partner said I was sabotaging our future. Ha-jin takes a sip, grimaces. 2 weeks later, he sold his shares to a holding company I'd never heard of. Took half the senior staff with him. 6 weeks after that, our 3 largest clients terminated their contracts simultaneously. Penalty clauses we'd never enforced suddenly invoked in coordination. We couldn't cover operational costs. The debt he'd already secured in the company's name came due all at once. Coordinated destruction, Ilyana says quietly. I filed for court-led restructuring April 7th. The bankruptcy court assigned us to rehabilitation proceedings, but the damage was done. Most of our remaining clients jumped ship. I spent 2 months trying to convince creditors we could survive, could rebuild. But then, he stops, jaw working. Then someone bought the majority of our debt, consolidated it, and made it very clear they wanted the company sold for parts, not rehabilitated, destroyed. Let me guess. Nolan Astor's holding company. Ha-jin looks up sharply. How did you... He has a pattern. Identify promising companies, insert a corrupted partner, engineer collapse, acquire assets for fractions of value. It's efficient, also monstrous. Ilyana's voice is clinical, but her eyes are hot. Your partner didn't betray you on impulse. He was recruited. The cafe suddenly feels smaller. Ha-jin sets down his mug with deliberate care, as if afraid a sharp movement might shatter something more fragile than ceramic. You know him, Nolan. I know of him. There's a difference. What difference? Ilyana considers her next words carefully. This is where the mask stays on or comes off, where observer becomes participant. She looks out at the rain, at the blurred lights of Gangnam, at the reflection of a woman who spent 10 years building walls between her fortune and anyone who might want to weaponize it. The difference, she says slowly, is that I've watched him destroy 3 companies in the last 18 months and never left a fingerprint. He's very good at using proxies, at staying clean while other people's reputations burn. Why do you know this? Because I pay attention. She turns back to him. And because people like Nolan only win when people like you disappear quietly. Ha-jin leans back, studying her. The exhaustion in his face battles with something sharper. curiosity, maybe hope. You said people like you, as if it's a category. It is. Builders who refuse extraction economics. Leaders who see employees as humans instead of resources. The stubborn ones who think loyalty matters more than quarterly returns. Ilyana's smile is sad. You're rare, also endangered. Endangered usually means extinct soon. Or protected. The word hangs in the humid air between them. Outside, a bus hisses to a stop, disgorging night shift workers and students. The barista wipes down tables that don't need wiping, pretending not to listen to the two strangers having what sounds like either a therapy session or a business negotiation. Ha-jin's phone buzzes. He glances at it, frowns, silences it. My mother. 5th call today. She wants me to come home, move back to Gwangju, teach at the university, stop embarrassing the family. Is that what you want? What I want is to pay the severance I owe to 63 people who trusted me. What I want is to honor contracts I signed my name to. What I want is to prove that you can build something good without becoming something ugly. He laughs harsh. What I want is irrelevant. The bankruptcy court hearing is in 3 weeks. After that, it's liquidation. Ilyana is quiet for a long moment. In her mind, numbers cascade. Debt structures, creditor priorities, rehabilitation timelines, bridge financing requirements. She's been running calculations since Ha-jin said, logistics optimization software, a sector she's been watching for investment opportunities, a space where ethical players are vanishingly rare. But more than numbers, she's calculating risk. The risk of visibility, the risk of association, the risk of caring about a man she met 20 minutes ago who stepped between her and a predator for no reason, except that it was right. What if, she says carefully, there was a way to buy time? Ha-jin goes very still. What kind of time? 3 months, maybe 6. Enough to prove viability to creditors. Enough to restructure debt and retain the team. Enough to build something that survives. That would require capital I don't have, and collateral no one will accept. What if someone accepted your existing IP, client pipeline, and organizational integrity as collateral? Ha-jin stares at her. Who would do that? Ilyana meets his gaze. Someone who believes that markets reward more than just extraction. Someone who thinks watching Nolan Astor lose might be worth the investment. You're talking about yourself. I'm talking theoretically. You're talking about real money. I'm talking about a hypothesis that needs testing. She leans forward. Here's what I know. Your company has value that bankruptcy won't capture. Your team stayed through unpaid periods. That's organizational capital most firms can't buy. And Nolan Astor wants you destroyed, which means you have something he fears. Or, I'm just a name on his revenge list. Maybe. But revenge is expensive. He's investing significant resources to crush you. That suggests threat perception. Ilyana pulls out her phone, opens a notes app. Tell me about your current cash flow, not the official numbers, the real ones. Ha-jin hesitates. This is the cliff edge. Once he shows her the books, shows her the scope of disaster, there's no pretending it's manageable. But something in her face, the sharp intelligence, the lack of pity, the way she talks about economic systems like an engineer diagnosing machinery, makes him pull out his own phone. Negative $40,000 monthly operational burn, 12 million won in immediate accounts payable. Staff haven't been paid in 8 weeks. Our office lease expires in 2 months and we can't afford renewal. We have 3 active contracts generating minimal revenue and creditors blocking access to our operating accounts. Ilyana's thumbs move across her screen, building a spreadsheet in real time. Current team size? 27, down from 63. They stayed without pay? Some did. The ones who believed. Or the ones who had nowhere else to go. His voice cracks slightly. I can't ask them to stay anymore. It's not fair. Fair is a luxury in late-stage capitalism, Ilyana says, not unkindly. But loyalty is data. It's a signal about organizational health that balance sheets don't capture. She turns her phone to show him a basic model. Bridge funding to cover operational expenses, pay outstanding salaries, stabilize creditor relationships. In exchange, you accept oversight, transparent governance, and performance milestones. Ha-jin looks at the numbers. They're not ridiculous. They're not easy, but they're not impossible. What's the catch? You surrender control of burn rate. I approve major expenses. You report weekly on progress. And you accept that if this fails, you fail publicly with my name attached. Why would you attach your name to a failing company? Ilyana's smile is sharp. Because Nolan Astor assumed I was nothing. Because I'm tired of watching predators win. And because... She stops, considers. Because someone just defended me when they had nothing to gain and everything to lose. That's data too. Outside, the rain begins to ease. The streetlights reflect in clearing puddles. The barista turns off the espresso machine with a metallic hiss. Ha-jin looks at this woman, this stranger who speaks in economic frameworks and capital structures, but whose eyes hold something that looks dangerously like fury and hope mixed together. I don't even know your name, he says. Ilyana Kincaid. Korean? American. Based in several places. I invest in infrastructure overlooked by traditional capital. That's a very diplomatic way of saying something. It means I put money in places other people won't, when the risk-reward calculation includes factors beyond quarterly returns. Ha-jin extends his hand. Western custom, but the moment calls for it. Ryu Ha-jin, bankrupt CEO of a logistics company that might not exist in 3 weeks. Clearly an excellent investment opportunity. Ilyana shakes his hand. Her grip is firm, warm. Let me look at your books. Real audit, full access. If the fundamentals are sound, and I think they are, I'll structure a proposal. When? Tomorrow. Send me everything tonight. You'll review it that fast? I don't sleep much. She stands, pulls her bag over her shoulder. The rain has stopped completely now, leaving the streets wet and shining. One condition. Of course there's a condition. You don't ask who I am. You don't Google me. You don't run background checks. You take the help or you don't. But you don't treat me like a mystery that needs solving. Ha-jin studies her. That's an unusual request. I'm an unusual investor. I noticed. They walk to the door together. The barista bows slightly as they leave. Small hours courtesy for customers who stayed and talked instead of camping with laptops. Outside, the air smells clean, rain-washed. The event center across the street is dark now. The elite disperse to their apartments and hotels. Tomorrow, the story of what happened in the lobby will circulate through investor networks and business chat groups. Did you hear Ryu Ha-jin confronted Nolan Astor? Did you hear some woman was causing problems? Did you hear? But tonight, right now, it's just 2 people on a Gangnam Street corner, both carrying damage they don't talk about, both calculating odds they don't fully understand. Thank you, Ilyana says again. For earlier. Thank you for the hypothetical investment discussion. It's not hypothetical anymore. Ha-jin nods slowly. No, I suppose it's not. A taxi appears as if summoned. Ilyana raises her hand and it glides to the curb. She opens the door, then pauses. Check your email in 2 hours. I'll send initial questions. Answer them honestly. All of them. Even the ugly ones? Especially the ugly ones. I don't invest in fairy tales. She slides into the taxi. Through the window, Ha-jin sees her pull out her phone immediately, fingers already moving across the screen. The taxi pulls away, red lights disappearing into traffic. Ha-jin stands there for a long moment, rain-damp and exhausted, and something else he can't quite name. His phone buzzes again. This time it's not his mother, it's an email notification. The subject line reads, Due diligence questions, Harbor Route Technologies. He opens it. 27 detailed questions about financial structure, team composition, IP ownership, creditor relationships, strategic vision. The kind of questions that come from someone who knows exactly what they're looking at. At the bottom, a single line. Numbers don't lie, but context matters. Show me both. Hajin looks up at the Seoul skyline, at the towers of Gangnam where deals worth billions happen in conference rooms with catered lunches and air conditioning that never fails. He thinks about Nolan Astor's gold watch and practiced cruelty. He thinks about his team working without pay, believing in something that might be delusion or might be principle. He's no longer sure which. Then he starts walking toward the subway station, pulling up documents on his phone, already composing answers to questions he never expected anyone to ask. Behind him, the cafe lights go dark. Above him, the clouds begin to break, revealing stars that you can almost never see in Seoul. But tonight, just for a moment, they're visible. Small mercies, unlikely interventions, the kind of thing you don't bet on, but sometimes, rarely, when the rain stops at exactly the right moment, they happen anyway. Min Seo-yeon is the first person to arrive at the office every morning and the last to leave every night, a rhythm she's maintained for 7 years through Series A celebrations and bankruptcy proceedings with equal intensity. At 6:47 a.m., she unlocks the door to Harbor Route's reduced office space. They downsized from the 12th floor to a 3rd-floor unit 4 months ago, trading glass walls and harbor views for fluorescent lighting and the persistent smell of the chicken restaurant below. She's making coffee when Hajin arrives at 7:03, which is unusual. He typically shows up around 9, having spent the night at the office sleeping on the conference room couch, or not arriving at all because he never left. "You look terrible," she says in Korean, not unkindly. "Good morning to you too, Seo-yeon." Hajin drops his bag on a desk. "Is Park here yet?" He slept in the server room again. I can hear him snoring. She hands him coffee in a mug that says, "World's Best CEO," a gag gift from 3 years ago that's become unintentionally cutting. "What happened?" "I met someone." Seo-yeon's eyebrows rise. In the 7 years she's worked with Hajin, she's never heard him mention meeting anyone in a tone that suggested it mattered. Someone? An investor? Maybe. She wants to see everything. Everything? Full audit. Real numbers. All the ugly parts we don't put in presentations. Seo-yeon sets down her own coffee very carefully. "Hajin. Who is this person?" "Her name is Ileana Kincaid. She's American. She was at the Tech Leaders Forum last night when Nolan publicly humiliated her. I intervened. We talked. She thinks we can be saved." "You intervened in one of Nolan Astor's performances?" Seo-yeon's voice climbs. "Are you actively trying to destroy what little chance we have left?" "We have no chance, Seo-yeon. The court hearing is in 3 weeks. Nolan owns most of our debt. We're dead. This is just the funeral planning stage. So you decided to antagonize him and bring a stranger into our collapse?" "I decided to stop watching predators win unopposed." Hajin meets her eyes. "And yes, I'm bringing a stranger in, because strangers are the only people left who might help." The silence between them is old, comfortable despite the tension. Seo-yeon has been his COO since the beginning, when Harbor Route was 3 people and a whiteboard in a borrowed office. She stayed through the betrayal, through the bankruptcy, through 8 weeks of unpaid work while her savings evaporated. She stayed because she believes. Or because she's stubborn. Sometimes there's no difference. What does this investor want? To see if the fundamentals are sound, if the team is real, if we're worth saving or just another sunk cost. Hajin pulls out his phone, shows her the email with 27 questions. "I spent 3 hours answering these last night. I need you to verify the numbers. Make sure I'm not lying to her through exhaustion." Seo-yeon takes the phone, scrolls through. Her expression shifts from skepticism to something else. Recognition, maybe respect. These are good questions. She knows what she's looking at. That's what worries me. Why? Because either she's legitimate and we're about to expose how badly we're failing, or she's running reconnaissance for Nolan and we're about to hand him our execution plan. Paranoia is a survival skill in late-stage capitalism, Seo-yeon says, echoing something she doesn't know Ileana said 12 hours ago. But sometimes angels wear unusual faces. Angels don't exist in venture capital. Neither do CEOs who defend random women at networking events. Yet here we are. Park Da-on emerges from the server room at 8:15, hair vertical, eyes unfocused, wearing the same hoodie he's worn for 3 days. He's 29 and has been offered jobs at 6 different companies in the last 2 months. Offers he keeps declining for reasons he won't articulate even to himself. "Are we dead yet?" he asks, grabbing coffee. "Schrödinger's startup," Seo-yeon says, "dead and alive until the court opens the box." Poetic. Park drops into a chair, opens his laptop. "What's the crisis du jour?" "Potential investor wants full access," Ha-jin says. Park's fingers pause over the keyboard. Define full access. Everything. Code, client relationships, financial projections, team dynamics. She wants to see the machine with the hood open. She? Ileana Kincaid, American. Investment focus on overlooked infrastructure. Park starts typing, then stops. "You said not to Google her." "I said she said not to Google her." "That's not the same thing." "It's close enough." Ha-jin moves to the whiteboard, picks up a dry erase marker that's mostly dead. "Here's what I think. We give her access. Real access. If she's legitimate, we might get bridge funding. If she's Nolan's reconnaissance, we're already dead, so it doesn't matter." "That's deeply fatalistic," Seo-yeon observes. "I'm a bankrupt CEO. Fatalism is a job requirement." The office phone rings, an ancient landline they keep because some clients still use it. Seo-yeon answers, listens, her expression shifting. "It's the bankruptcy court. They want to schedule an earlier hearing, 2 weeks instead of 3. Ha-jin closes his eyes. "Of course they do. Nolan's pushing. Do we accept? Do we have a choice?" Seo-yeon speaks into the phone, confirms the date, hangs up. November 26th, day before Thanksgiving for Americans, week before the winter recruiting cycle for us. Perfect timing to bury a company. "Nolan's good at theater," Park mutters. Ha-jin's phone buzzes. Email notification. He opens it and his breath catches. "What?" Seo-yeon asks. She responded, to all 27 questions, with follow-ups. He scrolls, reading. She wants to meet. Today, here. Wants to see the office, meet the team, review the code architecture in person. "That's fast," Park says. "That's terrifying," Seo-yeon corrects. "Should I say yes?" Both of them look at him. Ha-jin, who built this company from university project to 63 employees, who refused a bribe that would have saved everything, who stepped between a stranger and cruelty for no reason except that silence is complicity, asking permission like he's forgotten how to make decisions. Seo-yeon makes it for him. "Tell her 3 p.m. Give us time to make the place not smell entirely like defeat and fried chicken." Ha-jin types a response. Hits send before he can second guess. Done. "Now what?" Park asks. "Now we pray she's real, or prepare for her to be a very sophisticated threat." I'm not sure which would be worse. The morning passes in organized chaos. Seo-yeon creates a presentation deck that doesn't lie but doesn't volunteer the worst truths. Park cleans up the code repositories, documents the architecture, hides the 3 folders labeled Desperation Pivots in Archive. Ha-jin tries to review financials, and instead finds himself Googling Ileana Kincaid, despite her explicit request not to. The results are sparse. A few mentions in tech investment articles, always in passing, never as primary source. References to Kincaid Meridian, a family office with undisclosed portfolio. No social media presence, no Forbes profile, no scandal, no glory, just absence, like someone deliberately erasing their footprints. Which means either she's extraordinarily private or extraordinarily careful. In his experience, people who are both usually have good reasons. At 2:47 p.m., the door opens. Ileana Kincaid enters wearing the same minimalist charcoal dress from last night, pearls still in place, but she's added a structured blazer and carries a leather portfolio that's seen actual use. Behind her is someone Ha-jin doesn't expect. A Korean woman in her early 40s, expensive but understated suit, tablet in hand, the kind of presence that says executive in 3 languages. Ryu Ha-jin, Ilyana says. This is Camille Rhodes. She's a journalist, but today she's here as my documentation specialist. Everything we discuss is off the record unless you agree otherwise. Is that acceptable? Ha-jin wasn't expecting transparency about a journalist's presence. Yes. Acceptable. Good. Where can we work? Seo-yeon appears, extends her hand in perfect business etiquette. Min Seo-yeon, COO, conference room is this way. The conference room is their best space, still has the good chairs from before the downsizing, a whiteboard that hasn't been vandalized by despair, a window view of a parking lot that could charitably be called urban authentic. They sit. Ilyana opens her portfolio, pulls out a document Ha-jin recognizes, his answers from last night, annotated in red ink with questions, calculations, skepticism made visible. Let's start with the hard part, Ilyana says. Your partner sold his shares to Meridian Holdings for $1.2 million. Meridian is a shell company registered in Delaware, funded through Astor Capital Networks, which is Nolan's primary acquisition vehicle. You knew this? I suspected, couldn't prove. You can now. Camille pulled the registration documents this morning. She slides a paper across the table. Corporate filings, ownership structures, the money trail in black and white. Your partner didn't just betray you. He was purchased. Specific contract. Payment schedule contingent on successful destabilization. Ha-jin stares at the document. Seeing it confirmed is different than suspecting. Why are you showing me this? Because I don't invest in people who don't understand what they're fighting. Nolan didn't target you randomly. He tried to acquire you 3 years ago. You refused. This is retaliation dressed as opportunity. Seo-yeon leans forward. How do you know about an acquisition offer from 3 years ago? Because I pay attention to Nolan Astor's patterns. He's destroyed 11 companies in the last 5 years using variations of the same playbook. Harbor Route is number 12. Park speaks from the doorway. No one noticed him arrive. If you know his pattern, why haven't you stopped him before? Ilyana turns to face him. Because I'm not a regulator. I'm an investor. I can't stop predators from existing. But I can fund their targets' defenses. Which brings us to the actual proposal. She pulls out a second document. Ha-jin recognizes term sheet formatting, investment agreements, capital structures, governance terms. But the details are unlike anything he's seen. Bridge funding, $40 million won per month for 6 months, with option to extend. Covers operational expenses, staff salaries including back pay, essential infrastructure. In exchange, I acquire preferred equity representing 30% future ownership, board observer seat, approval rights on expenses over $5 million won, and weekly financial reporting. 30%, Seo-yeon says carefully. That's significant dilution. It's survival equity, Ilyana corrects. You're valuing the company at 0 right now. 30% of something is better than 70% of nothing. What's the catch? Ha-jin asks. 3 catches. First, your team gets paid before anyone else, every month, non-negotiable. If there's not enough capital for both salaries and operations, we shut down operations until there is. That's not how startups work. That's not how exploitative startups work. That's exactly how ethical ones should. Ilyana's voice is steel wrapped in silk. Second catch. You take no salary, no bonus, no distributions until the company is operationally profitable for 3 consecutive months. You're rebuilding on your team's backs. They eat first. Ha-jin sits back. It's punitive. It's also fair. And the third catch? You accept that I'm going to stay anonymous. Kincaid Meridian is the investor of record. My name doesn't appear in press releases, doesn't get mentioned to creditors, doesn't exist in your pitch deck. If that's unacceptable, we stop here. The room goes quiet. Outside, the chicken restaurant fires up its fryers for evening service. The smell of oil and gochugaru drifts through the ventilation system. Why anonymous? Seo-yeon asks. If you're legitimate, why hide? Because visibility distorts, Ilyana says simply. The moment people know who's funding you, they treat you differently. Some want access to me. Some question your competence. Some decide you only survived because of charity. I'm offering capital and strategic guidance, not a press release about my virtue. Or you're running reconnaissance for Nolan and don't want your name attached when we collapse, Park says. Ilyana looks at him for a long moment. If I was working for Nolan, I wouldn't need reconnaissance. I'd just wait 2 weeks for your bankruptcy hearing and buy the assets for nothing. She turns back to Ha-jin. You want proof I'm legitimate? Fine. I bought 12 million won of your debt last night, from 3 separate creditors. Here are the receipts. She slides 3 more documents across the table. Purchase agreements dated yesterday, signed by Kincaid Meridian, transferring debt ownership. 12 million won. Not enough to control the bankruptcy, but enough to prove she's serious. Hae-jin looks at the papers. Looks at her. You bought our debt before I agreed to anything. I bought your debt because Nolan was consolidating to force liquidation. Now he needs to negotiate with me. Consider it a down payment on good faith. That's insane. That's strategic. Ilyana leans forward. Here's what I know that you don't. Your logistics optimization software is good. Really good. The reason Nolan wants it isn't just revenge. You've solved a routing problem that major companies are still struggling with. Your client retention before the sabotage was 93%, unheard of in enterprise software. And your team stayed without pay, which means you built culture that survives crisis. Those are assets bankruptcy courts don't value, but markets do. If we're so valuable, why did we fail? You didn't fail. You were sabotaged. There's a difference. She taps the term sheet. I'm offering you a chance to prove the difference matters. 6 months. Rebuild the client base. Stabilize operations. Demonstrate viability. If you succeed, you save the company and 63 people's jobs. If you fail with your dignity intact and your team compensated. Either way, Nolan doesn't win. Ha-jin picks up the term sheet. The terms are harsh, also survivable. The anonymity requirement is strange, also understandable if she's dealt with the ways visibility attracts parasites. I need to discuss this with my team, he says. Of course, you have 72 hours. After that, the bankruptcy timeline forces my hand. Ilyana stands. One more thing. Don't accept this because you're desperate. Accept it because you believe you can win. Desperation makes bad decisions. Belief makes resilient ones. She heads for the door, Camille following silently. At the threshold, she pauses. Last night, you asked why I'd attach my name to a failing company. I didn't answer completely. The full answer is, because I'm tired of watching people like Nolan win by making people like you disappear. And because someone needs to prove that ethics isn't just expensive virtue signaling. It's sustainable competitive advantage. She meets his eyes. I think you can prove that, but only if you choose to. Then she's gone, door closing with a soft click, leaving 3 people in a conference room that smells like fried chicken and possibility. Seo-yeon breaks the silence. She bought 12 million won of our debt before meeting us. That's insane, Park repeats. Or strategic, Ha-jin says quietly. He's staring at the term sheet like it might be a trap or a miracle, and he can't tell which. Seo-yeon picks up one of the debt purchase agreements. These are real. I recognize the creditor names. She actually did this. So what do we do? Park asks. Ha-jin stands, walks to the window. Outside, Seoul continues its evening transformation. Neon signs flickering on, traffic thickening, millions of people moving through lives that don't know or care that Harbor Route Technologies is dying in a 3rd-floor office above a chicken restaurant. But maybe, just maybe, dying isn't the only option. He turns back to his team, to Seo-yeon, who stayed 8 weeks without pay, to Park, who declined 6 job offers for reasons he won't name, to the scattered others in the office beyond, working on machines held together with hope and electrical tape. We discuss it honestly, all of it. We vote, and we accept that whatever we choose together. When? Seo-yeon asks. Ha-jin checks his watch. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Everyone who's still here, everyone who stayed, they deserve to decide their own future. That night, Ha-jin doesn't sleep in the office. He goes home to his small apartment in Mapo-gu, to the place he's barely seen in 2 months, and he sits on the floor with the term sheet in front of him and thinks about his grandmother's words. Honor is not never falling. It's choosing how to get up. Choosing. Not having it chosen for you. Not accepting inevitability. Choosing, deliberately, with full knowledge of the cost. He picks up his phone, opens his contacts, finds a number he hasn't called in 4 months. His grandmother answers on the 3rd ring. Ha-jin, you're alive. Sorry, Halmione. I've been failing publicly while your mother panics and your father pretends to read the newspaper. Yes, I've heard the story. Despite everything, he smiles. I met someone. An investor. She wants to save the company. Does she want to save you or the company? There's a difference. I don't know yet. Then you'll find out. That's how these things work. His grandmother's voice softens. Are you calling to ask permission or to tell me you've already decided? Both? Good. That means you're thinking clearly. What does your gut say? Ha-jin looks at the term sheet, at the terms that strip his control and protect his team, at the woman who bought debt before meeting him, who demands anonymity and compensation transparency, who speaks about ethics like economics and economics like ethics. My gut says she's either legitimate or the most sophisticated threat I've ever encountered. And I'm going to find out which. His grandmother is quiet for a moment. Your grandfather built his company 3 times, lost it twice. He always said the 3rd time worked because he finally stopped trying to control everything and started trusting the right people. How did he know who the right people were? He didn't. That's why it's called trust. They talk for another hour. Not about business, about everything else. Family gossip, neighborhood updates, the small architecture of ordinary life that continues regardless of bankruptcies and term sheets. When Ha-jin finally hangs up, it's past midnight, and Seoul is quieter, and he feels something he hasn't felt in months. Not confidence, not hope exactly. Just the possibility that maybe, if he chooses carefully, if his team chooses with him, if this strange woman with her anonymous capital and fierce ethics is even half of what she appears to be, maybe they don't have to disappear quietly, after all. The meeting starts at 9:03 a.m. because Park Down is constitutionally incapable of arriving anywhere on time. 22 people crowd into the conference room. The core team that remained after the betrayal. The stubborn ones who chose loyalty over logic. The ones who have every right to be furious that they're about to vote on their own exploitation. Ha-jin doesn't sugarcoat it. Yesterday, a potential investor offered bridge funding. 6 months of operational capital, back pay for everyone, resources to rebuild. In exchange, she takes 30% future equity, board oversight, and I take no salary until we're profitable for 3 months straight. He projects the term sheet onto the wall. The funding comes from an entity called Kincaid Meridian. The principal investor insists on anonymity. We have 72 hours to decide. Who is she? Someone asks from the back. Her name is Ilyana Kincaid. She's American, based internationally, focuses on infrastructure investments. She has proof of capital, bought 12 million won of our debt yesterday to prevent Nolan from forcing immediate liquidation. Why anonymous? This from Youngmin Ji, their lead UX designer who's been sleeping on a friend's couch for 6 weeks. She says visibility distorts, that people treat you differently when they know who's funding you. She wants to offer capital and guidance without becoming the story. Or she's hiding something, Park says, not antagonistically, just factually. Possible, Ha-jin agrees. Also possible she's dealt with enough parasites to know privacy is self-defense. Seo Yan stands. I've verified the debt purchases. They're legitimate. I've also run background on Kincaid Meridian. It's a registered family office, US-based investment history in infrastructure and overlooked sectors. No red flags in corporate filings. She's either legitimate or operating a very sophisticated long con for unclear purposes. What's the alternative? Asks Lee Sang-woo, their client relations manager who's been fielding angry calls from creditors for 3 months. We have 2 weeks until the bankruptcy hearing. Nolan owns most of our debt. Without intervention, we liquidate. This is the only offer we have. That's not a reason to accept it, Young Min-ji counters. Desperation makes terrible agreements. True, Ha-jin says, which is why we're voting, not me deciding unilaterally. All of us together, accepting the risks together. What are the risks? Park asks. Ha-jin pulls up a second slide. Worst case scenarios. She's working with Nolan and this is reconnaissance. We expose our strategy, they crush us more efficiently. Or she's legitimate but the rebuild fails, and we lose 30% equity for nothing. Or the anonymity hides some agenda we can't predict, and we discover we've traded one predator for another. And best case? Lee Sang-woo asks. Best case, we survive. We pay back wages. We rebuild the client base. We prove that ethical companies can compete. And we get to tell Nolan Astor to decline his acquisition in a bankruptcy hearing by demonstrating viability. Nervous laughter ripples through the room. Show of hands, Seo Yan says. Who wants more time to decide? 4 hands rise. Who wants to vote now? 18 hands, including the 4 who wanted more time. Okay. Vote is simple. Accept the term sheet as written, or reject and proceed to liquidation. Seo Yan's voice is steady. This is not coerced. No one will judge you for voting your conscience. By show of hands, who votes to accept? Silence. Then Park raises his hand. I vote accept. Not because I trust her. Because I trust Ha-jin, and he trusts her enough to let us vote. That's data. Jung Min-ji raises hers. Accept. I'm tired of watching predators win. Lee Sang-woo. Accept. One by one, hands rise. Some quickly, some slowly, some with visible reluctance. Ha-jin counts. 19, 20, 21. The last hand belongs to Kim Jae-sung, their oldest developer, 53, who's been in tech since before smartphones existed. His hand trembles slightly as it rises. 22-0, Seo Yan announces. The term sheet is accepted. Ha-jin exhales a breath he didn't know he was holding. Okay. I'll inform Kincaid Meridian within the hour. We'll execute the agreement by end of week. First disbursement covers back pay. Everyone gets what they're owed before we spend a single one on operations. When do we meet her? Young Min-ji asks. This investor who owns 30% of our future? I don't know. That's part of the anonymity clause. She observes, guides, but doesn't insert herself into daily operations. That's strange, Kim Jae-sung says quietly. Everything about this is strange, Ha-jin agrees. But strange is what we have, so we work with it. The meeting dissolves. People return to desks, to code, to client calls, to the ordinary machinery of trying to build something that survives. But there's a shift in the air. Subtle, fragile, like the first morning after a fever breaks when you're not sure if you're healing or just enjoying the eye of the storm. Hae-jin retreats to his office, a corner desk with frosted glass partitions that provide the illusion of privacy, and drafts the acceptance email. His fingers hover over the keyboard. We accept. All 22 voted yes. When do we begin? Too casual. Kincaid Meridian. Harbor Route Technologies accepts the term sheet as written. Please advise on execution timeline and initial disbursement protocols. Too formal. He settles on. We're in. What's next? Sends it before he can overthink. The response comes in 90 seconds. Excellent. Wire transfer for back wages processes today. Send employee banking details encrypted. Legal docs for signature by Friday. I'll schedule a call for Monday to discuss strategic priorities. And Ha-jin, thank you for trusting your team to decide. That matters more than you know. IK. Ha-jin reads it 3 times. The informality, the speed. The postscript that sounds less like an investor and more like a human being who understands what just happened. Seo-yeon appears at his door. She responded? He shows her the email. She's processing back pay today? Seo-yeon's voice cracks slightly. That's 200 million won. Apparently, she has it. Ha-jin. Who is this woman? I'm starting to think that's the wrong question. What's the right one? Why us? She could invest anywhere. Fund companies that aren't actively dying. Why choose the hardest possible reconstruction? Seo-yeon considers this. Maybe she likes hard things. Or maybe she's exactly what she appears to be. Someone tired of watching ethics lose to extraction. People like that don't exist in venture capital. Neither do bankrupt CEOs who defend strangers at networking events. Yet here you are. The wire transfer hits their accounts at 4:37 p.m. 217 million won, distributed across 22 employees according to outstanding wages, plus an additional 5% that no one requested. A line item labeled simply, interest for delayed payment. Park sees it first. Shouts from his desk. It's real! The money is real! The office erupts. Not celebration exactly. They're too exhausted, too cautious for celebration. But release. Jung Min-ji starts crying silently at her desk. Lee Sang-woo immediately pays his overdue rent via mobile banking. Kim Jae-sung sits very still, staring at his phone screen like it might vanish if he looks away. Seo-yeon walks to Ha-jin's desk. Her eyes are wet. I used my savings, for payroll, 3 months ago. 50 million won. I didn't tell you because you would have stopped me. Hae-jin feels something crack in his chest. Seo-yeon, don't. I'm not telling you for gratitude. I'm telling you because that transfer just replenished what I spent. She didn't know about my savings, but she paid us extra anyway. That's not normal investor behavior. No, it's not. That evening, Ilyana calls. Not email, actual voice call, which surprises him. Did the transfer arrive? She asks without preamble. Yes, thank you. The team is relieved doesn't cover it. Good. That's the floor. Everything else we build from there. He hears papers rustling. I've been reviewing your client pipeline. You have 3 active contracts generating minimal revenue. Why minimal? We lost credibility during the bankruptcy proceedings. Clients reduced scope, went month to month instead of annual commitments. They're waiting to see if we survive. Understandable. Here's what I want you to do. Contact each client directly. Tell them you've secured funding, team is intact, and you're offering a retention incentive. 20% discount on current rates if they convert back to annual contracts within 30 days. That's leaving money on the table. That's buying loyalty when it's cheap. Client retention is worth more than margin right now. You need proof of viability for the bankruptcy hearing. 3 annual contracts say going concern. 3 month-to-month contracts say death spiral. Ha-jin pulls up the client list. What if they say no? Then you know they were leaving anyway, and you stop wasting resources on retention. But I don't think they'll say no. Your software works. Your team stayed. Your CEO took a stand against Nolan Astor, which is now circulating in business networks. You have a story. Use it. You want me to leverage the humiliation incident? I want you to leverage the defense. There's a difference. You didn't humiliate anyone. You stopped humiliation. That's a signal about organizational values. Some clients care about that. Ha-jin makes notes. Anything else? Yes. I'm going to buy more of your debt. Not all of it. Nolan still needs to think he has leverage, but enough that he can't force liquidation unilaterally. It'll cost about 40 million won. I need you to not argue with me about it. That's a lot of capital for a company you've owned equity in for 6 hours. It's a lot of capital for a company I believe in. There's a difference. Ilyana pauses. Ha-jin, I'm going to tell you something and I need you to hear it. You're not a charity case. You're an investment thesis. I think ethical operations create sustainable competitive advantage. I think teams that stay without pay are signals of culture that can't be faked. I think logistics optimization software built by people who actually care about efficiency beats software built by people who care about exit multiples. You're not me being nice. You're me being strategic. Why does it feel like both? Because it is. Strategy and humanity aren't mutually exclusive. That's the lie Nolan's worldview depends on. We're going to prove it wrong. They talk for another 40 minutes. Client retention tactics, cost optimization, staffing priorities, technical roadmap. Ilyana asks questions that reveal deep understanding of logistics software architecture. She pushes back on Park's timeline estimates. She suggests a partnership with a university research lab Ha-jin had forgotten existed. By the end, Ha-jin's notebook is full of action items, and his exhaustion has transformed into something closer to momentum. One last thing, Ilyana says. The bankruptcy hearing is in 2 weeks. We need to present a rehabilitation plan that's credible. I'm going to bring someone, a restructuring specialist who's worked with the Seoul bankruptcy court before. Her name is Yoon Mi-ran. She's expensive but worth it. I'll cover her fees. You're paying for our lawyer? I'm paying for our success. You're not fighting this alone anymore, Ha-jin. Get used to it. She hangs up before he can respond. Ha-jin sits in his office as the sun sets over Seoul, turning the Han River gold, casting long shadows through the Gangnam Towers. Around him, the office is still buzzing. People checking bank accounts, making calls, Park ordering pizza for everyone with money he actually has now. Seo-yeon knocks on his partition. You okay? I think so. Maybe. I don't know. He looks at her. She's paying for a restructuring lawyer, buying more debt, coaching us through client retention. That's not normal angel investor behavior. Maybe she's not a normal angel investor. Or maybe we're the setup for something we can't see yet. Maybe. Seo-yeon agrees. Or maybe sometimes people are exactly what they appear to be. And the tragedy is we're so used to predators we can't recognize protectors anymore. Ha-jin doesn't have an answer for that. Outside, Seoul continues its eternal rhythm. Inside, a company that was dying 12 hours ago is ordering pizza and arguing about code architecture and acting like a future might exist after all. Small mercies, impossible interventions. The kind of thing you don't bet on. But sometimes, when someone buys your debt at 4 p.m. and transfers back wages by 5, when a stranger speaks about ethics like economics and means both, sometimes they happen anyway. The first week passes in controlled chaos. Ha-jin contacts the 3 remaining clients with Ilyana's proposed retention offer. 2 accept immediately. 1 even upgrades their contract scope. The third, a logistics company in Busan, hesitates. We heard rumors, the CEO says carefully over speakerphone, about financial instability, about conflicts with major investors. We like your software, Ryu-si, but we need reliability. Ha-jin chooses honesty. We went through restructuring. A former partner sabotaged the company. We've secured new funding, paid all back wages, and we're rebuilding. I won't lie. The last 6 months were brutal. But we're here, we're intact, and our software still reduces your routing costs by 18%. Silence on the line. Then, who's your new investor? Kincaid Meridian. US-based family office, infrastructure focus. Never heard of them. Most people haven't. They operate quietly. More silence. Send me the updated contract. I'll review with our CFO. Thank you. The call ends. Ha-jin slumps back in his chair. Seo-yeon, who's been listening from the doorway, raises an eyebrow. Think they'll sign? 50-50. We're asking them to bet on our survival. We're betting on our survival. Seems fair. The Busan client signs 3 days later. All 3 annual contracts secured. Lee Sang-woo prints them out, pins them to the wall like trophies. Going concern, he announces. We officially exist in future tense. Park builds a dashboard tracking operational metrics, client satisfaction scores, revenue per employee, code deployment frequency, server uptime. Every morning, the numbers populate. Every morning, they're slightly better than the day before. Not miraculously. No hockey stick growth. No viral success. Just the steady accumulation of small improvements that distinguish companies that survive from those that don't. The restructuring lawyer Ilyana hired arrives on day 8. Yoon Mi-ran is 52, impeccably dressed, carries a leather briefcase that's probably older than Park, and speaks with the precision of someone who's shepherded 30 companies through bankruptcy proceedings and has no patience for self-pity. "Let me be clear," she says in their first meeting. "The court will scrutinize everything: your financials, your client contracts, your operational plan, your investors' legitimacy. Nolan Astor's legal team will argue you're a zombie company propped up by phantom capital. We need to prove you're not." "How?" Ha-jin asks. "By showing trajectory, revenue growth, client retention, operational efficiency. The court doesn't care about potential. They care about momentum." She opens her briefcase, extracts a thick document. "This is your rehabilitation plan. 12-month roadmap, quarterly milestones, risk mitigation strategies. We're going to practice your testimony until you can recite it in your sleep." For the next week, Ha-jin spends 4 hours daily with Yoon Mi-ran, rehearsing answers to hostile questions. She plays the part of creditor's attorney with unsettling accuracy. "Mr. Ryu, isn't it true your company only secured new funding after you publicly antagonized a respected investor? Your so-called investor remains anonymous. How do we know they exist? Your former partner claims you refused reasonable restructuring. Doesn't that make you responsible for this bankruptcy?" Ha-jin learns to answer without defensiveness, to cite numbers instead of emotions, to frame the narrative as principled resilience rather than stubborn pride. During this period, Ilyana remains mostly invisible. She sends emails, strategic suggestions, market analysis, introductions to potential clients. She wires funds precisely on schedule. She has a 30-minute call with Ha-jin every Monday morning, reviewing metrics and adjusting tactics. But she doesn't visit the office again, doesn't meet the wider team, doesn't insert herself into daily operations. The team starts calling her the ghost investor, half affectionately, half nervously. "Does she actually exist?" Park jokes. "Or is this an elaborate AI experiment?" Young Min-ji isn't laughing. "It's strange. She owns 30% of the company but acts like a consultant we hired." "Maybe that's the point," Seo-yeon suggests. "She's giving us room to rebuild without hovering." "Or she's maintaining deniability," Park counters. "If we fail, her name isn't attached." Ha-jin doesn't engage in the speculation. Partly because he's too busy preparing for the bankruptcy hearing, partly because he's starting to understand Ilyana's logic. Visibility creates distortion. The moment she becomes a presence in the office, people perform for her, instead of working for the company. Her absence is strategic, possibly kind. On day 12, an article appears in Tech Korea, a mid-tier business publication. Harbor Root Technologies secures funding, defies bankruptcy predictions. The piece is straightforward journalism. No exposé, no scandal, just facts. Quotes from clients praising their software. Confirmation of new investment. Brief mention of Ha-jin's public stance against predatory acquisition tactics, without naming Nolan. Ha-jin's phone explodes. Old colleagues, journalists requesting interviews, 2 recruiters asking if they're hiring. His mother calls, confused and cautiously optimistic. His father sends a text with a single emoji. The article changes something. Suddenly, Harbor Root isn't just a bankruptcy footnote. They're a story. Underdog resilience, ethical business, David versus Goliath without naming Goliath explicitly. 3 new client inquiries arrive within 24 hours. Ha-jin calls Ilyana. "Did you plant that article?" "I introduced Camille Rhodes to the reporter." Camille provided factual background. The reporter made editorial choices. I didn't write it, didn't pay for it, didn't direct the narrative. But yes, I facilitated it. Why? Because narrative matters. Nolan's been controlling your story. Failed CEO, reckless leadership, inevitable collapse. That article offers a counter-narrative. Principled stand, strategic recovery, investor confidence. Both are technically true, but only one helps you survive the bankruptcy hearing. You're weaponizing PR. I'm contextualizing facts. There's a difference. Ha-jin should be uncomfortable with this, should feel manipulated. Instead, he feels something closer to gratitude mixed with vertigo. The sensation of realizing someone's been moving pieces on a board you didn't know you were playing on. The hearing is in 6 days, he says. I know. Yoon Mi-ran says you're ready. She says I'm adequate. From Mi-ran, that's high praise. Ilyana pauses. Ha-jin, whatever happens in that hearing, you've already won something important. Your team stayed. Your clients returned. You rebuilt culture while rebuilding balance sheets. That's not nothing. If we lose, it's everything. If you lose with dignity. That matters more than you think. The call ends. Ha-jin sits in the office after midnight, the only one left, staring at the printed rehabilitation plan. 12 months of projections, milestone commitments, risk assessments. On paper, it looks achievable. In reality, it requires everything to go right for a year straight. He thinks about Nolan Astor's gold watch and casual cruelty. Thinks about his former partner's betrayal. Thinks about Seo Yeon paying salaries with her savings and not telling anyone. Thinks about a black woman in a charcoal dress standing in a lobby while everyone watched and no one helped until he did. Thinks about choices. About the moment when you decide that losing with integrity beats winning without it. His phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. The bankruptcy court published your rehabilitation plan this afternoon. I've read it 3 times. It's solid. You're going to survive this. Aika. Ha-jin stares at the message. She's reading court filings at midnight, texting encouragement to a bankrupt CEO she met 2 weeks ago, acting less like an investor and more like... He doesn't finish the thought. Can't afford to. Not yet. Not until the hearing. Not until he knows if the ghost investor is a savior or just another sophisticated predator wearing a better mask. But the text stays on his screen, glowing in the dark office, a small point of light against considerable darkness. And for tonight, that's enough. The bankruptcy hearing is scheduled for 10 a.m. on November 26th, Seoul Central District Court Bankruptcy Division. Ha-jin arrives at 8:45 wearing his best suit, dry cleaned, pressed, the armor of competence he hasn't worn in months. Yoon Mi-ran meets him in the lobby. Remember, confidence without arrogance. Acknowledge mistakes without dwelling. Cite numbers, not emotions. You're here to prove viability, not likability. Noted. And if Nolan's attorney tries to provoke you, I respond to the question, not the tone. Good. She adjusts her briefcase. Let's go rebuild your company. The courtroom is smaller than he expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, the bureaucratic aesthetics of institutional power. 3 judges sit at the elevated bench. Creditors fill the gallery, some represented by attorneys, some present themselves, all looking like people who want their money and don't care about narratives. Nolan Astor sits in the front row, navy suit, gold watch, the same performative confidence from the event lobby. He doesn't look at Ha-jin. Doesn't need to. His presence is the message. The lead judge, Judge Kim Soo-hyun, 63, 20 years on bankruptcy bench, opens proceedings. Case B-20-25-1847, Harbor Root Technologies Rehabilitation Petition. Mr. Ryu, you may present your plan. Ha-jin stands, takes the podium, has rehearsed this 40 times with Yoon Mi-ran, but it still feels like stepping off a cliff. Your Honor, creditors, thank you for your time. 6 months ago, Harbor Route Technologies entered financial distress following sabotage by a former partner and coordinated client contract terminations. We filed for rehabilitation in good faith, seeking to preserve organizational value and employee livelihoods. He clicks to the first slide. Revenue projections, client contracts, operational metrics. The numbers Ilyana helped him build, the trajectory that distinguishes death spiral from controlled recovery. Since filing, we've secured new investment from Kyungrae Meridian, a US-based family office specializing in infrastructure. We've retained 22 employees, re-signed 3 major clients to annual contracts, and generated positive monthly cash flow for 8 consecutive weeks. Our 12-month rehabilitation plan projects operational profitability by month 9, full creditor repayment by month 18. A creditor raises his hand. Judge Kim nods permission. Mr. Ryu, you claim new investment, but Kyungrae Meridian has no public profile. How do we verify their legitimacy? Yoon Mi-ran stands smoothly. Your Honor, we've submitted corporate registration documents, capital verification from Kookmin Bank, an investment agreement with notarized signatures. Kyungrae Meridian's legitimacy is established in the court record. The creditor sits, unsatisfied but silenced. Nolan's attorney stands, a man named Cho Jin-woo, expensive suit, shark smile. Your Honor, may I ask questions? Proceed. Mr. Ryu, isn't it true you rejected a buyout offer 4 weeks ago that would have paid creditors in full? Hajin keeps his voice level. I rejected an offer that required immediate workforce termination and voiding of client contracts. The offer prioritized asset extraction over organizational preservation. But it would have paid creditors. It would have paid some creditors, destroyed the company, and eliminated 63 jobs. I believed rehabilitation was possible. Events have proved that belief correct. Events have proved you secured a mysterious investor after publicly confronting the person who made that buyout offer. Cho's smile sharpens. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? I'd say it's evidence that principled operations attract principled capital. Murmurs in the gallery. Judge Kim raises a hand for silence. Cho continues. This mysterious investor, Kyungrae Meridian, operates through anonymous principles. No public track record. No disclosed portfolio. Doesn't that concern you? Many family offices operate privately. It's common practice in wealth management. Or it's a shell company designed to game bankruptcy proceedings. Yoon Mi-ran stands. Your Honor, counsel is speculating without evidence. Kyungrae Meridian's legitimacy is documented. If creditors have evidence of fraud, they should present it. Otherwise, this is character assassination masquerading as cross-examination. Judge Kim looks at Cho. Do you have evidence of fraudulent activity? No, Your Honor, but then move on. Cho shifts tactics. Mr. Ryu, your rehabilitation plan assumes client retention and revenue growth, but your company has been in distress for 6 months. Why should this court believe your projections? Hajin clicks to the next slide. Because we've already demonstrated trajectory. 8 weeks of positive cash flow. Client satisfaction scores averaging 4.7 out of 5. Deployment of new software features that 3 clients specifically requested. We're not projecting hypothetical success. We're scaling demonstrated momentum. Momentum funded by ghost investors. Momentum funded by verified capital, delivered to verified bank accounts, paying verified employees who produce verified work. You're welcome to audit every transaction. They're all documented. The gallery shifts. Some creditors are nodding slightly. Others remain skeptical, arms crossed, faces calculating whether rehabilitation pays better than liquidation. Judge Kim consults with the other judges in low tones. Then, Mr. Ryu, the court appreciates your preparation. However, we have concerns about your investor's anonymity. Can you provide direct contact with a Kyungrae Meridian principal? Hae-jin's heart drops. This wasn't in the rehearsals. Your Honor, the investment agreement includes privacy clauses. I'm not asking you to violate confidentiality. I'm asking if someone from Kyungrae Meridian can verify their commitment to this rehabilitation. Silence. Hajin's mind races. Ilyana specifically avoided direct court involvement. If he says yes and she refuses, the plan collapses. If he says no, the court might view it as evidence of fraud. The courtroom door opens. Ilyana Kincaid walks in. She wears a charcoal suit, different from the dress, same minimalist elegance, and carries a leather portfolio. Her pearl earrings catch the fluorescent light. She moves to the front with the confidence of someone who's navigated boardrooms on 4 continents and doesn't see bankruptcy court as meaningfully different. "Your Honor," she says in perfect Korean, "I'm Ilyana Kincaid, principal of Kincaid Meridian. I apologize for the intrusion. May I address the court?" Judge Kim blinks, surprised. "You're the investor?" "Yes, Your Honor." "You're aware these proceedings are public record?" "I am." "And you're choosing to identify yourself?" "I am." Nolan leans forward, jaw tight. This wasn't in his playbook. Judge Kim gestures to the witness stand. "Please." Ilyana takes the stand, places one hand on the Bible for the oath. Her voice is steady. "I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth." Cho stands immediately. "Your Honor, I'd like to question the witness." "Proceed." "Ms. Kincaid, you've invested in Harbor Root Technologies?" "Yes." Kincaid Meridian purchased 30% equity in exchange for bridge funding and operational support. "Why?" "Because the company has strong fundamentals, ethical leadership, and high client satisfaction. It failed due to sabotage, not incompetence. That makes it undervalued and worthy of investment. You operate anonymously. Why? Because visibility distorts investment relationships. When investors are public, founders perform for investors instead of customers. Anonymity keeps incentives aligned. Yet you're here now, publicly. Because the court requested verification. I prioritize privacy. I don't prioritize it over institutional integrity." Cho's smile is predatory. "Ms. Kincaid, what's your net worth?" Ilyana pauses. The courtroom goes very quiet. "I'm not sure how that's relevant to Harbor Root's rehabilitation plan." "It's relevant to assessing your capacity to fund the projected timeline." Judge Kim intervenes. "Counsel, I'll allow the question, but Ms. Kincaid may decline to answer if she believes it violates reasonable privacy." Ilyana looks at Hajin. Something passes between them. An entire conversation in a glance. She turns back to Cho. "My family office manages approximately $800 million USD in assets. Kincaid Meridian's investment in Harbor Route represents less than 1% of our portfolio. We have more than sufficient capital to support the rehabilitation timeline." The gallery erupts in whispers. 800 million. That's not venture capital scale, that's institutional wealth. Nolan's face goes very still. Cho recovers quickly. 800 million? Yet you invest in a bankrupt logistics software company? I invest in undervalued assets with ethical leadership and structural advantage. Harbor Route meets all 3 criteria. Or you're using bankruptcy proceedings to acquire valuable IP at favorable terms. If I wanted IP acquisition, I'd have accepted Mr. Astor's invitation to join his predatory buyout. Instead, I chose rehabilitation. That should tell you something about my priorities. The courtroom goes dead silent. Cho's voice hardens. "You're accusing my client of predatory practices?" "I'm stating a fact pattern. Mr. Astor's holding company recruited Harbor Route's former partner, engineered company destabilization, then offered acquisition at 30 cents on the dollar. That's textbook predatory strategy." "Your Honor," Cho starts. "Do you have evidence of this?" Judge Kim interrupts. "Yes, Your Honor." Ilyana opens her portfolio, extracts documents. Corporate filings showing Meridian Holdings purchased shares from Harbor Route's former partner. Communication records between that partner and Astor Capital Networks. Contract analysis showing coordinated client termination timing. I can provide copies to the court. Yoon Mi-ran is on her feet. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit these as supplementary evidence." Judge Kim examines the documents. passes them to the other judges. The whispers in the gallery intensify. Nolan stands, walks out. Doesn't run, but his exit is abrupt, strategic retreat disguised as dismissal. His attorney watches him go, then turns back to the court with visible effort. Your Honor, these allegations are inflammatory and unproven. They're documented, Ileana says calmly, and they explain why Harbor Route failed despite strong operational metrics. Rehabilitation is viable because the failure wasn't organic. It was manufactured. Judge Kim consults with the other judges for 5 minutes. The courtroom waits in tense silence. Hae-jin can hear his own heartbeat. Finally, the court finds Harbor Route Technologies' rehabilitation plan credible. Kincaid Meridian's investment is verified and substantial. Creditors will be repaid according to the proposed timeline. Rehabilitation is approved. Case continues under court supervision with quarterly progress reviews. The gavel falls. Hae-jin doesn't move. Can't process what just happened. Yoon Mi-ran grips his shoulder. You won. Around them, creditors file out. Some satisfied, some disappointed, all accepting. Cho gathers papers with barely controlled fury. The courtroom empties until it's just Hae-jin, Yoon Mi-ran, and Ileana standing near the witness stand. You came, Hae-jin says stupidly. The court asked, I answered. You exposed yourself, your wealth, your portfolio. Everything you said you wanted to avoid. Ileana's smile is tired. I said I valued privacy. I didn't say I'd sacrifice your company for it. She hands him the portfolio. Evidence packets. Nolan's sabotage documented in detail. Camille helped compile it. Use it carefully. Why carefully? Because now he knows we know. That makes you either protected or targeted. Possibly both. Hae-jin takes the portfolio. Thank you doesn't cover this. Then don't say it. Just build something that proves ethics works. That's payment enough. She turns to leave. Ileana? She stops. 800 million USD, that's... Why us? You could invest anywhere. She looks at him for a long moment. Because 3 weeks ago, a bankrupt CEO with nothing left to lose stepped between me and a predator when everyone else looked away. That's data. It's also rare. She adjusts her bag. I invest in rare things. Then she's gone, heels clicking on courtroom tile, leaving Hae-jin holding evidence of sabotage and proof that sometimes, just sometimes, the right stranger appears at exactly the right moment and changes everything. The office celebrates that night. Not extravagantly, there's still a company on survival mode, but Park orders chicken and beer, Young Min-ji brings a cake she baked herself, and for 3 hours, everyone pretends they're a normal startup having a normal team dinner instead of a resurrected organization that almost died. Hae-jin stands by the window, beer untouched, watching Seoul's lights. Seo-yeon joins him. You're not celebrating. I'm processing. She exposed herself for us. I know. $800 million, Hae-jin, that's institutional wealth, and she spent it defending a logistics software company in bankruptcy court. I know. So why do you look worried? Hae-jin turns to face her. Because Nolan knows now. Knows she's real, knows she's wealthy, knows she has evidence. That makes us either protected or a target. I'm not sure which. Maybe both. That's what she said. Seo-yeon sips her beer. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the beginning. Stop treating her like a mysterious benefactor and start treating her like a partner. That means honesty. All of it. Including asking why she really invested? Especially that. He texts Ileana. Can we talk? Not about business. About everything else. The response comes immediately. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the cafe where we first talked. Bring questions. The next morning, Hae-jin arrives at the cafe at 9:53. Ileana is already there. Same table by the window, 2 Americanos waiting. The symmetry is deliberate. He sits. You knew I'd ask to meet. You're predictable in your integrity. It's charming. I have questions. I assumed. Hae-jin pulls out his phone, opens notes. Why us? Real answer. Not the diplomatic version. You have $800 million. You could invest in stable companies, guaranteed returns, zero drama. Instead, you chose a bankrupt startup being actively sabotaged by a predator. Why? Ileana wraps her hands around her mug. Outside, morning traffic builds, Soul waking up to ordinary concerns. Because I'm tired. Of what? Of watching extraction win. Of seeing ethical companies fail, while predatory ones thrive. Of living in an economic system that rewards cruelty and punishes principle. She meets his eyes. 3 weeks ago, I was humiliated in a public forum. 20 witnesses. Zero intervention. Except you. A bankrupt CEO with nothing left to lose stepped between me and someone powerful for no reason, except it was right. That's not business calculation. That's character. And character is the rarest commodity in capitalism. So this is gratitude? This is investment thesis. I believe companies led by people with character outperform companies led by sociopaths over long timescales. But ethical companies rarely survive early crises because capital flees to safer bets. I'm offering to be the capital that doesn't flee. That's still not the full answer. Ileana is quiet for a moment. My father built a tech company in the 90s. Medical diagnostic software. He refused a buyout from a larger firm because the terms required laying off the research team. 6 months later, that firm engineered his bankruptcy through vendor contract manipulation. He lost everything. The company was liquidated. The buyer acquired the IP for 20% of fair value. Her voice is steady, but her hands tighten on the mug. My father spent 5 years trying to rebuild. Never succeeded. He died believing he'd failed everyone who trusted him. Hajin goes very still. I was 16, Ileana continues. I watched predatory capital destroy an ethical company and a good man for no reason, except it was profitable. I swore I'd never let it happen again if I had the power to stop it. So I built that power. $800 million of it. And when I see Nolan Astor using the exact same playbook on someone who reminds me of my father, yes, I invest. Not as charity, as warfare. I remind you of your father. You remind me what capitalism could be if it wasn't run by sociopaths. That's worth more than safe returns. Hajin processes this. So I'm a proxy. For your father. For the fight you couldn't win when you were 16. You're a test case. For whether ethical operations can survive if they have sufficient defensive capital. If you succeed, the model scales. I fund 10 more companies like yours. 20. Build an ecosystem where character isn't a competitive disadvantage. She leans forward. You asked why us. That's why. You're not just a company. You're proof of concept. And if we fail? Then I learn from the failure and iterate. But I don't think you'll fail. Why? Because you voted. You let your team decide their own risk. Leaders who do that don't fail morally, even if they fail financially. And moral success creates strategic advantage more often than people think. They sit in silence. The cafe fills with morning customers. Students, freelancers, people whose lives don't include bankruptcy courts and predatory capital. I need to tell you something, Hajin says. Nolan knows now. About your wealth, your evidence, your strategy, that puts you at risk. I can handle Nolan Astor. Can you? He's destroyed 11 companies. He doesn't lose gracefully. Neither do I. Ileana's smile is sharp. Hajin, I'm not fragile. I'm careful. There's a difference. Nolan operates through proxies and deniability. I operate through documentation and institutional relationships. He's powerful. So am I. The difference is, I'm willing to fight publicly if necessary. He isn't. You just fought publicly yesterday, in court. Exactly. I showed him I'm willing to expose him. That changes the game. He either backs off or escalates. If he backs off, we win. If he escalates, Camille Rhodes has enough documentation to destroy his reputation across 3 markets. Either way, we're protected. Ha-jin wants to believe her. You've thought this through. I've been preparing for this fight for 15 years. Yesterday was the opening move. What's the next move? We build. Sustainably, ethically, profitably. We make Harbor Route successful enough that other investors notice. We prove the model, and we document every step so the next ethical company has a playbook. You're not just saving us, you're creating a template. I'm weaponizing your success. If that's uncomfortable, say so now. Ha-jin considers. It's not uncomfortable, it's just a lot. Yes, but you can handle a lot. That's why I invested. They finish their coffee. Outside, Seoul continues its ordinary rhythm. Inside, two people who met 3 weeks ago in crisis are building something that looks suspiciously like partnership. As they leave, Ilyana pauses. Ha-jin, one more thing. The evidence I brought to court, Nolan's sabotage documentation. Don't leak it. Not yet. We need it as leverage, not as scandal. When do we use it? When he makes the next move. And he will. How do you know? Because people like Nolan don't accept losing to people they've underestimated. His ego won't allow it. So we wait. We build. And when he overreaches, we strike. 3 days later, Nolan makes his move. An article appears in Seoul Business Daily. Tech billionaires' risky bet. Kincaid Air Fund's failing startup. Industry questions motives. The piece is carefully written. No direct accusations, just implications. Suggests Ilyana's investment is vanity project. Questions whether her wealth is self-made or inherited. Includes anonymous quotes from industry experts, doubting Harbor Route's viability. The subtext is clear. Rich woman playing savior, probably incompetent, definitely naive. Ha-jin reads it and feels fury rising. Calls Ilyana immediately. I saw it, she says before he can speak. This is character assassination. This is Nolan testing whether I'll respond emotionally. If I sue, I look defensive. If I defend publicly, I waste energy. So I do neither. What do? We build. Numbers don't lie. In 3 months, we'll have quarterly results that prove viability. That's a better response than any statement. 3 months of people thinking you're a naive heiress playing business. Ha-jin. Her voice is steel. I've been underestimated my entire life. I'm a black woman in wealth management. Underestimation is my tactical advantage. While they think I'm naive, I'm building infrastructure they don't see until it's too late. She pauses. Trust me. This article is Nolan admitting he's scared. That means we're winning. Ha-jin wants to argue, wants to defend her publicly, to fight back, to make someone pay for the casual cruelty of dismissive journalism. But he's learning, slowly, that sometimes the strongest response is none at all. Okay, he says. We build. We build. The article circulates for 2 days. Some people click their tongues about foolish investors. Others admire Ilyana's courage. Most people forget about it entirely and move on to the next outrage. But Ha-jin doesn't forget. And neither, he suspects, does Ilyana. In his office late that night, he starts a document. Harbor Route Technologies, Ethical Operations Playbook. He begins writing everything he's learning. About choosing principle over expedience. About letting teams vote their own risk. About finding capital that shares values instead of just seeking returns. He doesn't know if anyone will ever read it. Doesn't know if the model will scale, or if they're just one lucky exception in a system designed to crush exactly this kind of optimism. But he writes anyway. Because if they succeed, someone else might need the map. And if they fail, someone else might learn from the wreckage where the path diverged. Outside his window, Seoul glitters. Inside, a bankrupt CEO who met a stranger 3 weeks ago and chose to help her is now building something that might just change how ethical companies survive, or might collapse spectacularly. Only time will tell. But for tonight, the company is alive, the team is paid, and the mysterious angel investor turned out to be real after all. Small mercies, impossible interventions. The kind you don't bet on. But sometimes, when you defend someone for no reason except it's right, they return with $800 million and a vendetta against predatory capitalism. Sometimes, rarely. Just enough to make you think maybe, possibly, the world isn't entirely captured by sociopaths after all. December arrives with Seoul's first real cold snap. The kind that makes your breath visible and turns the Han River into steel gray mirror. Harbor Root's office now has heat, a luxury they couldn't afford 2 months ago. And the team works with the focused intensity of people who've seen the edge of the cliff and backed away carefully. The quarterly results are promising. Revenue up 37%. Client retention at 96%. 2 new contracts signed, both referrals from existing clients. Park's technical optimizations reduce server costs by 18%. The numbers tell a story bankruptcy courts like trajectory, sustainability, viability. Ha-jin is reviewing the quarterly report with Seo-yeon when the envelope arrives. No return address. Plain Manila. His name written in block letters that could belong to anyone. The office manager brings it to his desk with a shrug. Courier service. They wouldn't say who sent it. Ha-jin opens it. Inside, a single photograph and a USB drive. The photograph shows Ilyana at what appears to be a private event. Elegant venue, evening wear, champagne glasses. She's talking to someone whose face is turned away from the camera. The image quality is professional, surveillance grade. Seo-yeon looks over his shoulder. When was this taken? Ha-jin checks the metadata. 2 weeks ago, Singapore, based on the venue watermark. Who sent it? No idea. He plugs the USB drive into his laptop, runs a security scan first. Park's paranoia has rubbed off on the whole team. Clean. He opens the drive. 1 folder. Inside, documents, financial records, investment agreements, email screenshots, all related to Kincaid Meridian's other investments. Ha-jin scrolls through. 7 companies, 3 in logistics, 2 in healthcare infrastructure, 1 in sustainable agriculture, 1 in educational technology, all in Southeast Asia or Africa, all in sectors overlooked by mainstream venture capital, all showing similar investment patterns: bridge funding, operational support, strategic guidance, anonymity. She's been doing this for years, Seo-yeon says quietly. This isn't an experiment. It's a portfolio strategy. Ha-jin keeps scrolling, finds an email thread from 8 months ago. Ilyana corresponding with someone named Marcus about a logistics company in Jakarta. The company was failing due to predatory practices from a larger competitor. Ilyana invested, provided legal support, helped them survive. The competitor backed off. Another thread. Healthcare clinic in Nairobi. Similar pattern. Investment. Documentation of predatory tactics. Strategic defense. Success. She's not saving us, Ha-jin says. She's running a systematic campaign against predatory capital. Why is someone sending us this? Good question. Ha-jin examines the documents more carefully. Most are corporate filings, public record technically, but aggregated in a way that requires significant research. Someone spent time compiling this. Someone wants him to see the full scope of what Ilyana is doing. His phone rings. Unknown number. He answers cautiously. Mr. Ryu. The voice is male, Korean, educated accent. Did you receive the package? Who is this? Someone who thinks you deserve complete information about your investor. Why? Because transparency matters. Ms. Kincaid operates in shadows. You should know what those shadows contain. Ha-jin's grip tightens on the phone. If you have something to say it directly. I'm saying your investor has a pattern. She targets companies being attacked by specific competitors. She intervenes with capital and legal warfare. Sometimes the companies survive. Sometimes they don't. But always, the competitors suffer reputational damage. A pause. Ask yourself, is she saving you or using you as ammunition in a larger war? Who are you working for? Someone who believes in fair competition, not ideological vendettas disguised as ethical investment. The line goes dead. Ha-jin sets down his phone very carefully. Seo-yeon is watching him. That was either a warning or a trap, she says. Possibly both. He forwards the photos and documents to Ilyana with a single line. Someone sent me your portfolio. We should talk. Her response comes in minutes. My apartment, 7 p.m. Address below. The address is in Hanam-dong, the neighborhood where diplomats and old money live quietly behind walls and security gates. Ha-jin takes the subway, then walks the last 10 minutes through streets lined with ginkgo trees and houses that don't advertise their value. Ilyana's building is modern, discreet, the kind of place designed to be overlooked. The doorman expects him. The elevator requires a keycard. The hallway on the 14th floor smells like expensive minimalism. She opens the door before he can knock. Come in. The apartment is exactly what he expected, and nothing like it simultaneously. Minimalist design, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Expensive but not ostentatious. But the walls are covered with maps. Physical pushpin maps tracking investments, timelines, connections. A war room disguised as a living space. You saw the documents, she says, closing the door. All of them. 7 companies. Systematic pattern. You're not just investing, you're fighting. Yes. Who sent them? Nolan, or someone working for him. The timing and framing are too convenient. She moves to the window, looks out at Seoul's lights. He's trying to make you doubt me. Make you think I'm using Harbor Route as a weapon against him specifically, not investing in your actual viability. Are you? Ilyana turns to face him. Both. I invested because Harbor Route has strong fundamentals and ethical leadership. I also invested because Nolan was destroying you using tactics that killed my father's company. Those motivations aren't mutually exclusive. They're complementary. You said you were tired of watching extraction win. You didn't say you were running a war. What do you think resistance looks like? Her voice is quiet but fierce. You think we stop predatory capitalism by asking nicely? By writing think pieces about ethical business practices? No. We stop it by building defensive infrastructure, by funding targets before they're destroyed, by documenting predation and making it expensive. She gestures at the maps. Those 7 companies? Without intervention, they'd be liquidated, their employees scattered, their IP acquired for pennies by the same firms that killed them. Instead, they're alive, growing. Employing 2,300 people collectively. That's not collateral damage in some abstract war. That's 2,300 families who eat next month. Hae-jin looks at the maps. Pins connected by string. Red for predatory firms, blue for defended companies, green for successful rehabilitations. It looks like conspiracy theory. It also looks like meticulous strategic planning. How long have you been doing this? 15 years. Started small. One company in Ghana that reminded me of my father's. Succeeded. Did another. And another. Built the methodology. Now I run it systematically. Identify ethical companies under predatory attack. Verify their fundamentals. Invest. Document the predation. Defend legally. Most survive. Some don't. All of them get to fight instead of disappearing quietly. Nolan thinks I'm a proxy. You are. So is every company on this wall. We're all proxies in the fight over what kind of economy we want. One where predators win automatically, or one where ethics has defensive capital. She meets his eyes. I didn't hide this from you to deceive. I hid it because knowing you're part of a larger pattern sometimes makes people feel like pawns. You're not a pawn. You're a participant. There's a difference. Ha-jin walks to the map wall, finds Harbor Route's pin. Blue, connected to red pins representing Nolan's network. What happens if we succeed? The model proves viable. I scale. 10 companies becomes 50, becomes 200. Build an entire ecosystem of defended ethical firms. And if we fail? I document why, Adjust the model, try again. But I really don't think you're going to fail. Because of the quarterly numbers? Because you're standing in my apartment asking hard questions instead of walking away. Leaders who demand transparency from their investors don't collapse quietly. They build carefully. She picks up a folder from her desk. I was going to wait to show you this, but given current circumstances, you should see it now. She hands him the folder. Inside, incorporation documents for something called Ethical Defense Fund, LLC. Investment thesis. Portfolio strategy. Governance structure. Ilyana Kincaid listed as founder and primary capital contributor. I'm formalizing the model, she says, creating an actual fund with institutional backing. Harbor Route is the anchor case. If you succeed, I raise capital from other investors who want to fund ethical defense. Scale the strategy beyond my personal fortune. Hajin reads through the documents. This is ambitious. This is necessary. Individual intervention is tactical. Institutional infrastructure is strategic. I want to build something that outlives me. What do you need from me? Keep succeeding. Hit your quarterly targets. Demonstrate that defended ethical companies outperform predatory alternatives. Be the proof that makes other investors believe. She pauses. And decide if you're comfortable being public about this. Because if we formalize the fund, your story becomes part of the pitch. Harbor Route Technologies, defended, rebuilt, thriving. You become the poster child. I thought you valued privacy. I do. But I value impact more, and impact requires visibility eventually. She looks at him steadily. I'm asking if you're willing to be visible with me, to tell the story publicly, to make what we're building replicable instead of exceptional. Hajin thinks about his grandmother's words, about choosing how to get up, about the difference between honor and pride. If we do this, if we go public with the model, Nolan will escalate. He can't afford to let us succeed visibly. It makes him look weak, makes his tactics visible, invites scrutiny. I know. So we're choosing a fight. We're choosing to stop hiding from one. Ilyana's smile is tired. Hajin, Nolan already escalated. That envelope, that phone call. He's trying to fracture our partnership by making you doubt my motives. Classic divide and conquer. The question isn't whether to fight. It's whether to fight defensively or offensively. What's the offensive move? Camille publishes everything. The sabotage documentation, the pattern of predation, the full network of companies Nolan has destroyed. We make him the story instead of letting him control ours. That's scorched earth. That's justice. But I won't do it without your agreement. This affects your company, your team, your future. You get to decide. Hajin walks to the window. Below, Seoul spreads out in fractal complexity. Millions of people making millions of choices. Most of them invisible, all of them mattering. He thinks about his team working late, about Park declining job offers for reasons he won't name, about Seo-yeon spending her savings and not telling anyone. Thinks about the choice between surviving quietly or succeeding loudly. How much time do I have to decide? 72 hours. After that, Nolan will make another move and our options narrow. What if I say no? What if I want to just build the company and stay out of the war? Then we do that. I don't force participation. But know that staying out is also a choice, and Nolan will interpret it as weakness. The attacks won't stop. They'll just be subtler. Hajin nods slowly. I need to talk to my team. This affects them too. Of course. But Hajin? She touches his arm briefly. Whatever you decide, I'm not abandoning you. Investment was never contingent on you becoming a public champion. I believe in what you're building. Period. He looks at her, sees exhaustion around her eyes, the weight of 15 years fighting alone, the hope that maybe this time she's found an ally instead of just another company to defend. Thank you, he says, for the honesty, for all of it. Thank you for not walking away when you saw the maps. He leaves at 9 p.m., takes the elevator down, walks through Hanamdong's quiet streets, rides the subway back to a part of Seoul where apartments are smaller and the walls aren't covered with war plans. But his mind is already mapping strategy, already calculating what it means to choose visibility, to become part of something larger than company survival, already knowing, deep down, what he's going to decide. Because some fights, once you see them clearly, become impossible to walk away from. The team meeting happens at 8 a.m., before the office officially opens. Hae-jin requested mandatory attendance, which is unusual enough that everyone arrives on time, even Park. "I need to tell you something," Ha-jin begins. "About our investor. About what we're actually part of." He projects the maps from Ilyana's apartment onto the conference room wall. Explains the pattern. 7 companies. Systematic defense against predatory capital. Harbor route as anchor case for a larger institutional fund. The choice between quiet survival and public testimony. The room is silent when he finishes. Finally, Park speaks. "So we're not just a company. We're a weapon." "We're both," Ha-jin corrects. "Ilyana invested because we have real value. But yes, she also invested because our success proves ethical companies can survive if they have defensive infrastructure. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Feels like we should have known this before accepting her money," Young Min-ji says carefully. "Maybe. But would it have changed your vote?" Young Min-ji considers. "No. We were dying. She offered survival. The motivations behind the offer are... Actually, I'm not sure they matter. The effect is the same. We're alive." Lee Sang-woo raises his hand. "What happens if we say no to going public?" "Nothing changes operationally. We keep building. Ilyana keeps supporting. But we stay out of the larger narrative. And if we say yes? We become visible. Ilyana's journalist contact publishes a story about predatory practices in tech acquisitions, using Harbor Route as primary example. Nolan gets exposed. We get attention, some positive, some hostile. The model becomes replicable. Seo-yeon leans forward. "What does Nolan do if we expose him?" "Escalates. Legally, probably. Maybe financially. Ilyana thinks we're protected by documentation and institutional relationships. But there's risk. There's always risk," Kim Jae-sung says quietly. The oldest member of the team, the one who's seen tech booms and busts for 3 decades. Question is whether the risk serves purpose or just serves ego. "What purpose does this serve?" Park asks, not hostilely, genuinely curious. Ha-jin looks at the maps on the screen. "It makes what happened to us, the sabotage, the bankruptcy, the rebuild, into a template. Other companies facing similar attacks get a playbook. Other investors see that ethical defense generates returns. We stop being an exception and become a model." "That's ambitious," Young Min-ji says. "That's world-changing," Young Min-ji says. "That's world-changing," Seo-yeon corrects. "If it works." Big if. The discussion continues for 90 minutes. Some people are enthusiastic, tired of watching predators win, eager to fight back. Others are cautious, worried about attention, about becoming targets, about whether their personal lives can survive public scrutiny. No one is comfortable, but everyone is honest. Finally, Ha-jin calls for a vote. Same as before, show of hands. Should we participate in public exposure of predatory practices, knowing it makes us visible and potentially vulnerable? Hands rise. Slowly at first, then faster. Park. Young Min-ji, Lee Sang-woo, Seo-yeon, Kim Jae-sung. 19 hands total, 3 abstentions. 19-3, Seo-yeon announces. We go public. Hae-jin texts Ilyana. Team voted yes. 19-3, we're in. Her response. I'll tell Camille to proceed. Article publishes Monday. Prepare for attention. That weekend, Ha-jin barely sleeps. Reviews the documentation Ilyana compiled. Practices answers to hostile questions. Warns his family that news coverage is coming. His mother is confused and worried. His father is quietly proud. His grandmother says simply, "Your grandfather would have made the same choice." Saturday afternoon, Ilyana calls. "How are you holding up?" "Terrified, excited, unsure which is winning." "That's normal. The first time you choose visibility is always hardest." "How many times have you done this?" "Gone public?" "Never. I've always operated anonymously. Let the companies be the story. This is new for me, too." "Why now?" "Because I'm tired of being invisible. Because hiding from predators gives them power. Because..." She pauses. "Because you asked me to be honest. And honest requires being seen." Hajin hears something in her voice. Vulnerability, maybe. Recognition that this choice costs her something too. "Are you scared?" "Terrified," she echoes. "But less than I am of doing nothing." They talk for an hour. Not about business. About childhood. About family. About the weird intimacy of sharing war plans with someone you met 6 weeks ago, and somehow trust more than people you've known for years. About what it means to build something in public when you're used to working in shadows. Monday morning, the article goes live. Not Seoul Business Daily this time. Tech Asia, a major regional publication with serious journalistic credibility. The headline, "The Predator and the Prey: How Systematic Sabotage Shapes Tech Acquisitions." Camille Rhodes's byline, 4,000 words, meticulously sourced, devastating. The piece opens with Harbor Root's story, the partnership betrayal, the coordinated client terminations, the bankruptcy engineered by Nolan's holding company. But then it widens, traces the same pattern across 11 companies in 5 years, names Nolan explicitly, includes quotes from other founders he destroyed, provides corporate filings showing the holding company structures, the proxy recruitments, the debt consolidations, and introduces Ilyana, not as mysterious benefactor, as strategic defender. Profiles Kincaid Meridian's investment thesis, explains the ethical defense fund, positions Harbor Root not as victim, but as proof of concept. The article is careful, factual, legally bulletproof. It's also utterly damning. By 10 a.m., Hajin's phone is melting. Journalists requesting interviews. Investors asking about the fund. Other founders reaching out, some in solidarity, some seeking help, some angry that he's making drama instead of just doing business. By noon, Jucker tech predation is trending on Korean Twitter. Think pieces multiply. Business shows want comment. 3 law firms offer to represent Harbor Root pro bono if Nolan sues. By 3 p.m., Nolan's PR team issues a statement. These allegations are defamatory and will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. Aster Capital Networks has always operated with full transparency and regulatory compliance. By 5 p.m., 2 of Nolan's portfolio companies issue statements distancing themselves. 1 board member resigns publicly. By 7 p.m., Hajin is exhausted and exhilarated, and terrified in equal measure. Ilyana texts, "You okay?" "I think so. This is insane. This is impact. Get used to it." The next week is chaos. Interviews, legal consultations, strategy sessions. Harbor Root's website crashes from traffic. 4 new client inquiries. 6 offers from investors wanting to participate in the Ethical Defense Fund. 2 speaking invitations, 1 from a startup accelerator, 1 from Seoul National University's business school. Park starts fielding recruitment calls for the entire team. "Everyone wants to hire the people from the ethics company," he says, bemused. "Like we're suddenly saints instead of just survivors." "We're neither," Hajin says. "We're just visible. But visibility has costs." Anonymous comments on the article question Ilyana's motives, suggest the fund is tax avoidance scheme, call Hajin a puppet, speculate about the nature of their relationship with ugly insinuations about race, gender, and power. Hajin reads them compulsively until Seo-yeon physically takes his phone. "Stop. That's poison. Focus on the work." She's right. The work remains. Quarterly targets. Client relationships. Code development. The ordinary machinery of building a company, now under extraordinary scrutiny. 2 weeks after the article, Nolan makes his countermove. Not legal action. That would require discovery, would expose him further. Instead, financial warfare. He launches a competing logistics platform, funded with $50 million, offering services at cost. The goal is obvious. Undercut Harbor Route's pricing, steal clients, force them back into distress. He's trying to bankrupt us again, Seo Yeon says, reading the press release. Through market competition this time. Ha-jin should be panicked. Instead, he feels oddly calm. Then we compete. Our software is better. Our team is better. Our relationships are better. He has money. We have everything else. Money usually wins. Usually. But we're not usual anymore. He calls Ilyana. You saw? I saw. He's playing predictably. Short-term price war to force another crisis. Can we survive it? Can you deliver better value than a predator funding a vanity project? Yes. Will it be easy? No. But you're not fighting alone. What do you need from us? Proof. Document every advantage. Client satisfaction scores. Performance metrics. Show that ethical operations create loyalty that price competition can't overcome. Let him burn money trying to buy market share. You focus on building market trust. The war is quieter this time. No dramatic bankruptcy hearings. Just grinding operational competition. Harbor Route loses 2 clients to Nolan's platform. Price-sensitive ones who were always borderline. But they retain 17 others. And gain 3 new ones, specifically citing the Tech Asia article as reason for interest. We want to work with a company that has principles, one CEO says. Principles, it turns out, have market value. Not overwhelming value. Not guaranteed victory. But enough. 3 months after the article, Nolan's competing platform raises prices. The unsustainable burn rate finally hit limits. 2 of the clients he poached from Harbor Route return, apologetic, recognizing quality matters more than temporary discounts. Ha-jin doesn't gloat. Just signs the contracts, welcomes them back, keeps building. By month 4, the Ethical Defense Fund has raised $60 million from institutional investors. 5 new companies receive defensive funding. The model is scaling. By month 5, Harbor Route is profitable. Actually, sustainably profitable. Team paid, debts current, runway extending into the future. By month 6, Ha-jin realizes he hasn't thought about bankruptcy in 3 weeks. Hasn't checked his bank account compulsively. Hasn't woken up at 3 a.m. calculating catastrophe scenarios. They're not just surviving. They're building. And the difference feels like breathing after months underwater. Spring arrives in Seoul with cherry blossoms and unreliable weather. Harbor Route moves to new offices. Bigger space, same neighborhood. Still above a restaurant, but this time it's a coffee shop instead of fried chicken. Progress comes in strange metrics. The 1-year anniversary of the bankruptcy filing passes quietly. No one mentions it explicitly, but everyone knows. Park brings donuts. Young Min-ji plays music. It feels less like celebration and more like acknowledgement. We survived the year that should have killed us. Ha-jin works late that night, reviewing annual reports. The numbers are solid. Revenue growth, 63% year over year. Client base, 22 companies, mix of retained and new. Team size, 31, up from 22. Operational margin, positive. Debt, manageable. Future, possible. His phone buzzes. Text from Ilyana. Rooftop, 20 minutes. Bring a jacket. He finds her on the building's rooftop terrace, technically against regulations, but the door lock broke months ago, and no one fixed it. She's standing by the railing, looking out at Seoul's nightscape, wearing a jacket against the spring chill. You're not supposed to be up here, he says, joining her. You're not supposed to survive predatory capitalism. Yet here we are, breaking rules. They stand in comfortable silence. Below, traffic hums. Above, The sky is too light polluted for stars, but trying anyway. 1 year, Ilyana says finally. Since the bankruptcy filing. Since we met. Since everything changed. How does it feel? Hajin considers. Strange. Like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it keeps not dropping. And eventually you realize maybe there is no other shoe. Maybe this is just life. Building. Surviving. Continuing. That's called healing. Is it? I think so. I'm not an expert. She pulls out her phone, shows him a notification. The Ethical Defense Fund just closed its second round. $90 million total. We're funding 12 companies now, building partnerships with 3 law firms for pro bono defense work. The model is scaling. That's incredible. That's your work. Harbor Route proved the concept. Everything else followed. She puts the phone away. I wanted to say thank you for trusting the investment, for voting yes, for going public when you didn't have to. You risked everything for a principle most people don't believe in anymore. You risked more. $800 million. Your privacy. Your safety. Money and safety are overrated. Her smile is tired. Purpose is underrated. Is this what you imagined? When you were 16 and watching your father lose everything? No. 16-year-old me imagined revenge. Dramatic confrontations. Bringing down predators in spectacular fashion. Ilyana leans against the railing. 31-year-old me has learned that real change is boring. It's bridge funding and legal documentation and quarterly reports. It's building infrastructure that outlives individual fights. She gestures vaguely. It's standing on a rooftop in Seoul talking about operational margins instead of dramatic victories. But it's also real. And it works. And it helps people. Hajin watches her. Sees exhaustion, satisfaction, something that might be contentment. Are you happy? Are you? I asked first. Ilyana pauses, searching for words. I'm less angry. Not happy exactly, but less angry. Which is a different kind of peace. Same. They're quiet again. Somewhere in Gangnam, a car alarm goes off briefly. A couple argues in an apartment across the street, voices carrying in the spring air. Ordinary urban symphony. What happens now? Hajin asks. We keep building. Fund more companies. Refine the model. Make it sustainable enough to outlive us both. Ilyana turns to face him. And we figure out what kind of partnership this is. Business? Friendship? Something else that doesn't have a clean category? Hajin's heart does something complicated. Does it need a category? No, but it needs acknowledgement. She steps closer, not quite touching. Hajin, I'm not good at this part. At articulating emotional infrastructure. I build systems for defending companies. I don't build systems for whatever this is between us. What do you think it is? I think it's a man who defended me when he had nothing to gain. And a woman who defended him when she could have stayed invisible. And 6 months of learning to trust someone with both capital and vulnerability. She meets his eyes. I think it's rare. And worth protecting. Worth defining. Worth acknowledging. Hajin closes the distance between them. Not dramatically, just a step. Then another. Until they're close enough that he can see the small scar near her left temple, the exact shade of brown in her eyes, the way her breath makes small clouds in the cold air. Ilyana Kincaid, he says. I don't know what we're building, but I know I want to keep building it. With you. Publicly. That's a terrible business risk. Mixing professional and personal relationships. Probably. But you told me once that sometimes the best investments defy conventional wisdom. I also told you I believe in character over calculation. So show me which one matters more. She kisses him. Not tentatively, but not desperately either. A kiss that tastes like decision and spring air, and a year of trust built through spreadsheets and strategic warfare, and 2 people learning to be honest about everything that matters. When they pull apart, Hajin is smiling. That was definitional. That was acknowledgement. Definition comes later. How much later? However long it takes to build something sustainable. I don't believe in rushing infrastructure. Even emotional infrastructure? Especially that. They stay on the rooftop for another hour. Talk about next quarter's targets, about the 3 new companies joining the fund, about Park's imminent promotion, about whether they should attend the Seoul Startup Week together or maintain professional distance. Eventually decide on together. Public acknowledgement, strategic honesty. The kind of relationship that doesn't hide, because hiding gives power to people who use secrets as weapons. My mother is going to have questions, Hajin says. My mother died 8 years ago, but her ghost definitely has questions. Ilyana squeezes his hand. We'll figure it out. One honest answer at a time. They leave the rooftop as Seoul's subway system shuts down for the night, as the city transitions from business to rest, as spring settles into something that might be summer if given enough time. At the building entrance, they part ways. Ilyana to her car, Hajin to the late subway train, both to apartments in different neighborhoods, different economic strata, different histories entirely. But the same present, the same project, the same stubborn insistence that maybe, possibly capitalism can be bent towards something that doesn't destroy everything it touches. Maybe it can't. Maybe they're delusional optimists building sandcastles against inevitable tides. But maybe, just maybe, when a bankrupt CEO defends a stranger, and that stranger returns with capital and strategy and fury directed at systems instead of symptoms, maybe something shifts. Small shift, barely measurable, but compounding. And compound interest, given enough time, changes worlds. Epilogue, 18 months later. The Seoul Startup Conference occupies the same venue where Hajin first met Ilyana. Same crystal chandeliers, same marble floors, same performative networking energy. But everything else is different. Hajin is on stage, part of a panel titled Ethical Scaling, Myth or Model. He wears a suit that actually fits, speaks without notes, fields questions from an audience that includes 3 journalists and approximately 200 entrepreneurs hungry for alternatives to extraction economics. In the audience, Ilyana sits in the 3rd row. Not hiding, but not performing either. Observing. Occasionally making notes. When Hajin mentions defensive infrastructure and capital that doesn't flee, she smiles slightly. The panel ends with applause. Hajin fields questions during the break, mostly positive, some hostile, all engaged. A young founder corners him. How do I find investors like yours, the ones who believe in more than quarterly returns? Hajin hands her a card. Start here, Ethical Defense Fund. They're looking for companies with strong fundamentals and principled leadership. If you've got both, apply. The founder stares at the card like it's a lottery ticket. Maybe it is. Maybe everyone deserves a lottery ticket that rewards principle instead of just punishing its absence. Outside the venue, Hajin finds Ilyana waiting in the same alcove where he first intervened 18 months ago. The symmetry is deliberate again. Good panel, she says. I didn't mention you specifically. I noticed. Thank you. You're still committed to semi-anonymity? I'm committed to not being the story. The work is the story. She gestures back toward the conference. Did you see? 5 companies we funded are exhibiting. 2 are Series A. 1 is profitable. That's the story. Not me. They walk through Gangnam together. It's late October, the air crisp with approaching winter. Cherry blossoms are months away, but Hajin can remember them perfectly. That first spring after survival. The feeling of breathing without calculation. How's the fund? He asks. Closing 3rd round next month, 120 million total. 18 portfolio companies, 73% survival rate through first year, above industry average for early-stage rehab investments. Ilyana navigates around a street vendor with practiced ease. We're opening a Singapore office. Maybe London next year. The model is scaling. And Nolan? Quiet. His holding company shuttered 2 months ago. Not bankrupt, just reorganized. He's still wealthy, still operating, but the predatory acquisition strategy is too exposed now, too risky. He moved to biotech, where regulations are tighter and prey is harder to isolate. She pauses. We didn't destroy him, but we made his preferred methods expensive. That's partial victory. You don't sound satisfied. I'm never satisfied. That's how change happens. Perpetual dissatisfaction channeled into infrastructure. They reach the cafe, their cafe, the place where bridge funding was first discussed over bad Americano and tentative trust. It's more crowded now, trendy, the kind of place that got written up in lifestyle magazines. Success brings visibility even to coffee shops. They order anyway. Find a table in the back. The barista recognizes them, brings the drinks without asking preference. Small mercy of consistency. So, Ilyana says, 18 months, bankruptcy to profitability, death spiral to Series A preparation. What did we learn? Hajin considers that systems are more powerful than individuals, that documentation beats heroics, that capital doesn't have to be extraction to be viable, that... He stops, searching for the core. That choosing ethics isn't choosing failure, it's choosing harder. But harder is survivable if you have defensive infrastructure. Good answer. Write that down. It'll be the tagline for your book. My what? Ilyana smiles. The playbook you're writing. Rebuilding with principles or whatever you're calling it. You think I don't know you've been documenting everything? You're a systematic thinker, Hajin. You can't help but build frameworks. He should be embarrassed. Isn't. Fine. Yes, I'm writing it. For the next person. So they don't have to figure it out alone. When it's done, I'll help you publish. Make sure every accelerator, every business school, every desperate founder has access. Weaponize your experience. You really do think in military terms. I think in infrastructure terms. Sometimes those look similar. They talk for 2 hours. About next quarter's fund expansion. About Hajin's team, now 43 people. About the wedding they're planning for next spring. About what it means to build a life alongside building a system for corporate defense. About ordinary things. Apartment hunting. Meeting each other's families. Negotiating different cultural expectations around partnership. The mundane architecture of merging lives that happens regardless of whether you're also trying to rebuild capitalism's ethics. My mother thinks you're using me, Hajin mentions casually. For what? She's not clear. Access, credibility. She can't quite articulate it, but there's suspicion. Cultural or personal? Both, probably. She sees, wealthy American woman, bankrupt Korean son, rapid relationship. The optics are complicated. Ilyana nods slowly. I can meet her. Answer questions. Subject myself to maternal interrogation. It won't be comfortable, but I've survived board meetings with hostile activist investors. Korean mothers are arguably less terrifying. You've never met a Korean mother with concerns about her son's life choices. Fair point. She pauses. For the record, if our relationship ever compromises your autonomy or Harbor Root's independence, I want you to say so. I don't ever want to be the power dynamic that erases your agency. I know. That's why it works. They leave as evening becomes night, as Gangnam's lights multiply, as Seoul continues its eternal rhythm of ambition and exhaustion, and people building futures they can't quite see yet. At the corner where they first parted ways, rain stopping, trust beginning, they kiss briefly. Public. Comfortable. The kind of affection that doesn't require performance. Thank you, Hajin says. For what? For buying my debt without permission. For showing up to bankruptcy court uninvited. For being crazy enough to think ethical capitalism could survive predatory competition. For... He gestures vaguely. All of it. You defended me when no one else would. Everything after that was just compound interest on the initial investment. That's a deeply unromantic metaphor. I'm a capitalist. It's the most romantic thing I know how to say. She kisses him again. Build something good, Hajin. I'll make sure it has the resources to survive. That's the partnership. They part ways. Ilyana to her car, Ha-jin to the subway, both to homes that exist now because 18 months ago, someone chose intervention over compliance, and someone else chose partnership over extraction. The city continues. Companies rise and fall. Some through incompetence, some through bad luck, some through predatory capital that no one stops because stopping seems impossible. But in one small corner of Seoul's tech ecosystem, 23 companies are building differently, paying people first, choosing transparency over deniability, operating on the radical theory that ethics and survival aren't mutually exclusive. 23 isn't many, isn't revolution, isn't even significant statistical deviation, but it's more than zero. And more than zero, when replicated, when systematized, when defended, sometimes becomes enough. Sometimes, if you're lucky, if you work carefully, if you meet the right stranger in a moment of crisis, and both of you choose, against all rational calculation, to build something better than the world generally allows. The cherry blossoms will return in spring, the company will continue, the fund will scale or won't. But tonight, in Seoul, two people who rebuilt company and relationship simultaneously walk separate directions toward shared futures, and that, improbable,